Throughout its storied history, football has witnessed a wide array of bans and suspensions. Players have been sidelined for various transgressions, ranging from on-field incidents to off-field controversies. Fouls, dissent towards referees, unsportsmanlike conduct, and breaches of discipline are common reasons for temporary or even permanent exclusion from the beautiful game. The rulebook is clear, and its enforcement is paramount to maintaining order. And then there are the more serious offences: corruption, doping, and even the insidious act of match fixing. These strike at the very heart of the sport's integrity. Such actions warrant severe penalties, reflecting the gravity of the betrayal. But what if a player was banned not for any wrongdoing, not for any violation of the rules, but simply for being too good? What if their exceptional talent became a problem? Imagine a striker so prolific, so consistently finding the back of the net, that the only way to level the playing field, to restore some semblance of balance and competitiveness, was to remove him entirely from the equation, to take away the one element that was disrupting the established order. This isn't some far-fetched hypothetical scenario, a plotline from a sports movie. This isn't fiction conjured from the imagination. It's the true and rather unbelievable story of Stefan Schwarz. Not the famous Swedish international footballer of the same name, who graced the pitches of Europe, but a lesser-known, almost forgotten legend from the lower echelons of the German amateur leagues. A player whose talent became a burden. His crime, if you could call it that. Scoring goals with relentless consistency, an almost unnatural ability to find the back of the net, leaving defenders and goalkeepers helpless in his wake. Today we delve into this bizarre and largely unknown chapter of football history, a tale that challenges our fundamental ideas of competition, fairness, and the very essence of what it means to play the game. Prepare yourself for the extraordinary story of the man, the striker, who was effectively banned not for breaking the rules, but for being deemed simply unstoppable. Stefan Schwarz played for SV Vonderort, far from the spotlight, but his impact was seismic. He wasn't just good, he was a goal machine, racking up over 500 goals in the amateur leagues. Week after week, he turned matches into one-man shows, leaving defenders helpless and fans in awe. His presence guaranteed goals and victories season after season. Opponents tried everything, man-marking, double-teaming, but nothing worked. Schwartz's legend grew, and so did the frustration of every team that faced him. He was the hero of his club, but soon, his dominance would spark controversy. At first, Schwartz's extraordinary feats on the field were met with unbridled celebration. The town erupted in joy with each goal he scored, each game he dominated. He was quickly becoming a local icon, a symbol of hope and pride for SV Vonderort. The fans adored him, and his name was on everyone's lips. He was more than just a player. He was the pride of the town, a beacon of sporting excellence in their small community. Children would imitate his moves in the streets, dreaming of one day emulating their hero. Local businesses proudly displayed his image, and the town's morale was at an all-time high, all thanks to Schwartz's incredible talent. But as his goal tally soared to unprecedented heights, a subtle shift began to occur. The initial euphoria started to give way to a more complex mix of emotions. Rival teams, initially impressed, grew increasingly resentful of Schwartz's dominance and SV Vonderort's seemingly unstoppable winning streak. The atmosphere at matches began to change, becoming more tense and competitive. Matches against SV Vonderort, once eagerly anticipated, felt increasingly pointless for the opposing teams. They knew they were likely facing defeat. The games were becoming predictable, and the other teams felt like they were just going through the motions. The outcome was a foregone conclusion before the whistle even blew, casting a shadow over the entire league. The competitive spirit was waning, replaced by a sense of inevitability. Frustration boiled over on and off the pitch, leading to increasingly heated exchanges between players and even fans. The camaraderie that once defined the league was starting to disappear. Rough tackles became more frequent, a sign of the growing animosity between teams. The games were becoming more physical and less about skill and sportsmanship. Complaints to referees became commonplace, and there were even whispers and threats to boycott games in protest of the perceived unfairness. The integrity of the league was being called into question. The league's spirit was eroding, and attendance at matches began to dwindle as fans lost interest in what they saw as a predictable and unbalanced competition. The atmosphere at the games was becoming increasingly somber. It was replaced by bitterness, resentment, and constant talk of unfairness, threatening to tear the league apart. The joy of the game was being overshadowed by controversy. The pressure mounted on the local football association to find a solution and restore balance to the league. They were facing a crisis that threatened the very future of local football. Something had to be done to address the growing discontent and restore fairness to the competition. The future of the league hung in the balance. The initial joy of watching a local legend perform incredible feats on the field was now overshadowed by a growing crisis of competition and the threat of the league's collapse. The situation was becoming increasingly dire. The league faced a difficult dilemma, a challenge that tested the very principles of fair play and sporting integrity. How do you handle a player who's simply too good, whose exceptional talent is inadvertently disrupting the balance of the entire league? It was a question with no easy answers. The league's governing body, overwhelmed by complaints, made a shocking decision. Stefan Schwarz was banned from playing for SV Vonderort, not for cheating but for being too dominant. The official reason? His talent was ruining the competition. Schwarz and his teammates were stunned. Excellence had become a punishable offense. The ban sent shockwaves through the community, defying the very spirit of sport. There was no real appeal. How do you argue against being too good? In a move that remains infamous, Schwarz was sidelined for his own brilliance. To outsiders, banning a player for talent seems absurd, but the league's priority was participation and community, not ruthless competition. Schwarz's dominance threatened to drive teams away and collapse the league. Officials saw his removal as a necessary evil to keep the league alive. The story made headlines, painting Schwarz as a victim of his own success. The decision was controversial, but for the league, it was about survival. It's a stark example of how amateur sport can twist the idea of fairness. For Stefan Schwarz, the sudden ban felt utterly surreal. One moment he was the star, the next, an outcast. The weight of the decision pressed down on him, isolating him from the sport he lived and breathed. It was a jarring transition, a complete upheaval of his reality. He genuinely loved the game, the camaraderie, the thrill of competition, not the fleeting spotlight that came with it. For Schwarz, it was always about the pure joy of playing, the strategic dance on the field, the pursuit of excellence with his teammates. The fame was just a byproduct, an unwanted accessory to his passion. SV Vonderort's fortunes plummeted dramatically without their star player. The team, once a force to be reckoned with, suddenly seemed lost and rudderless. Their strategies faltered, their morale dipped, and the once vibrant stadium echoed with a newfound emptiness. Their dominance, so carefully built and fiercely defended, vanished almost overnight. The victories turned into struggles, the celebrations into silent disappointments. The scoreboard became a constant reminder of their diminished state, a stark contrast to their former glory. The club lost its competitive edge, its spark, its ability to consistently outmaneuver opponents. The players seemed to lack the confidence and drive that Schwarz had instilled in them. The bench became a place of quiet resignation, a symbol of their fading hopes. And the league, after a period of imbalance, regained a semblance of equilibrium, but at a significant cost. The competition became fairer, perhaps, but the shadow of the Schwarz controversy lingered, a constant reminder of the ethical questions raised. Schwarz wasn't banned from playing football entirely, a small consolation in a sea of disappointment. The authorities, perhaps recognizing the severity of the punishment, offered a partial reprieve, a chance to salvage something from the wreckage. He was offered a spot on the second team, a strange and somewhat humiliating compromise. It was a far cry from the adulation he once received, a demotion that served as a constant reminder of his fall from grace. The second division felt like a different world, a pale imitation of the glory he once knew. His story gradually faded from the front-page headlines, replaced by newer sensations and more pressing concerns. The media circus moved on, leaving Schwarz to grapple with the consequences of his actions in relative obscurity. The newspaper clippings, once symbols of his fame, now gathered dust, fading reminders of a bygone era. But the impact of his ban, both on him and on the league, lingered long after the initial shock subsided. The questions it raised about fairness, justice, and the role of individual players in a team sport continued to be debated in hushed tones. The league, resilient as ever, survived the controversy and continued its relentless march forward. New stars emerged, new rivalries ignited, and the games went on, but the memory of Stefan Schwarz remained etched in the collective consciousness. But the ethics of the initial decision, the justification for sacrificing one player for the perceived good of the many, remain fiercely debated to this day. Football officials and administrators continue to grapple with the complexities of balancing individual rights with the integrity of the game. Was it truly right, in the grand scheme of things, to sacrifice the career and reputation of one player, regardless of his actions, for the sake of maintaining order and perceived fairness within the league? It's a question that continues to haunt the sport. The tale of Stefan Schwarz, the fallen star, became a cautionary legend whispered in the locker rooms and stands of local football, a reminder of the precarious nature of fame and the enduring power of ethical dilemmas. The story of Stefan Schwarz forces us to ask, what is true fairness in sport? Is it about equal opportunity or about unpredictable outcomes? The league chose to protect the collective, even if it meant punishing excellence. In professional football, such a ban would be unthinkable. Imagine Messi or Ronaldo sidelined for being too good. But in the amateur world, the rules are different, and so are the priorities. Was it justice or injustice? There's no easy answer. Where do we draw the line between celebrating greatness and keeping the game fair for everyone?